Hi there, friends. Thank you so much for joining us for another informative weekend edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. Inside the pages today, Jamaica's first dry dock ship repair business off to a successful start. As usual, we have tips to keep you healthy. And it's Reggae Month. So we're celebrating this music birthed from the creative imagination of our people. Sit back and relax for all these and more. You don't want to miss any of it.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Your government is empowering you through education, training, and development. That is why we have removed all fees for every Jamaican accessing training through the Heart NSTA Trust. So, whatever you desire training in, food and hospitality, beauty and cosmetology, housekeeping and hotel management, welding, carpentry, masonry, or any of the dozens of programs Heart offers, you can enroll completely free and change your life. We are building Jamaica.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Thanks again for being here. The German Ship Repair Jamaica Limited, GSRJ, commissioned the first ever floating dry dock for ship repairs in Jamaica and the region. It's situated along the Kingston Harbour, and since docking in the last quarter of 2023, it is already reaping rewards. In our opening feature, we'll hear about that success story.
German Ship Repair Jamaica Limited, GSR's 235-meter-long Panamax-size floating dry dock called Jam Dock 1 is moored at the entity's shipyard along the Sir Florizel Glaspole Highway off the Kingston Harbour. The GSR and Jamaica's first ever floating dry dock was commissioned in the last quarter of 2023. It is equipped with cutting-edge technology to lift vessels out of the water for repairs. The dry dock has not been operational long, but already reports suggest that it has begun reaping success.
We have the first job that was completed. It was a ship called the Mexican Giant, and that ship is a heavy lift carrier that came out of Mexico that works with the oil industry in the Gulf of Mexico. The process was a little bit slower than we wanted. The Mexican authorities and the owners of the vessel was very, very pleased with the quality of the work at the end of the day. So we were very proud of that.
German Ship Repair Jamaica has since moved on to a second project, the Vikrant Dolphin. This is a diving support barge registered in St. Kitts and operating in the Gulf of Mexico within the offshore oil industry. Jamaica receives approximately 3,000 port calls, while about 180,000 vessels operate within the region. The GSRJ is looking to capitalize on the economic growth potential of that as it continues its phased development.
We're now starting to see the successes. We have a long way to go in terms of our development to complete that, but really and truly it has been a success already after the first job was completed and that vessel set sail.
Sights are set on building out a model apprenticeship program for Jamaican youth by partnering with the Caribbean Maritime University CMU. This will create a pool of individuals with international grade technical skills.
This is especially important to us in Jamaica. You have an arrangement with the Jamaican shipyard to make sure that our graduates right there at CMU are trained here. That increases our productivity. So what I see is that the German shipyard here in Jamaica is creating a new paradigm where productivity at the highest German level is brought here and will raise everybody who works with you. Any contractor who works with you has to work at the international level. That simply means that they have to be more productive. They have to be well trained, they have to be certified, which of course ART does, which of course CMU does.
We have a number of persons from India, from Chile, also from Germany. Obviously we have from Poland and so on. So we have a number of persons and we're still in the process of recruiting more. These persons are working very, very closely with our local persons in the same fields, so the knowledge transfer is happening.
The upskilling of our labor force is fantastic. The quality that is going to come out of the investment made here, we believe will be a game changer for the country. And we're excited for it, and we just want to thank the German Ship Repair for the partnership.
While there are plans to install additional docks, the immediate focus is to finish construction on Phase 1 of the development. This includes building out a new state-of-the-art workshop for engine and steel fabrication works.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
As we continue to increase awareness of heart-related health problems and how to treat with them, we're now turning our attention to how cases of diabetes can precipitate or worsen heart conditions. This next feature examines the cardiovascular complications of diabetes and how to treat with the problem.
Diabetes is a common illness. Most of us may be aware of its various complications, such as diabetic retinopathy and neuropathy, diabetic kidney disease, and so on. But when it comes to deaths caused from diabetes, cardiovascular complications account for the majority. Diabetes is recognized as one of 4 major factors for developing cardiovascular disease, the others being hypertension, obesity, and cigarette smoking.
About 68% of persons over the age of 65, and this is data now from the American Heart Association, 65% of persons over the age of 65 who have diabetes will die from heart disease, and about another 16% will die of stroke.
Before we take a look at how to manage or even prevent cardiovascular complications of diabetes, let us look at how persons come to develop the disease.
In a nutshell, what generally happens is that diabetic persons have a more rapid rate at which fat and cholesterol is deposited in the arterial system. So we all have that. It's considered part of the process of aging. Fat and cholesterol is being laid down in our arteries. However, diabetic persons tend to have that happen at a more rapid rate. Okay? And as a result of that, what tends to happen is that diabetic persons will progress to a point where they have compromised vessels. So in other words, the lumen, the diameter of the vessel, is narrowed, the flow of blood is limited.
And as the heart muscles become starved of blood, various acids accumulate and persons will tend to experience what is called angina, or a type of chest pain.
You may get complete blockage of the vessel, which may now result in what is called a heart attack.
Heart tissues are not meant to function in an environment where the blood sugar level is elevated. And so, another incidence of diabetic cardiovascular complication results where high blood sugar levels in persons who are diabetic becomes directly toxic to heart cells. This impairs the ability of blood vessels to open normally under conditions of stress, such as exercise, and also causes inflammation and impaired clotting of the blood.
So if they're chronically exposed to those levels of elevated blood sugars, then there are biochemical consequences. There's weakness of the heart muscle, and patients, many of them, go on to developing heart failure and so on.
The diagnosis of cardiovascular complications is more difficult in diabetics, where the symptoms appear unclear or may be different from the non-diabetic patient. Take, for example, a non-diabetic person with, say, coronary heart disease.
Generally, they will say, well, look, doc, I felt pressing pain to the center of my chest. It's moving down my left arm. It comes on with activity. It stops when I stop engaging in whatever activity. It feels like a weight or like a pressure, like a squeezing sensation, and it's associated with other things like shortness of breath and so on. Diabetics, however, have a particular problem because they have damage to the nerves, and therefore they may not actually experience chest pain at all. If they do, it may not be the typical angina which we would normally expect a patient to describe. Okay, so oftentimes diabetic patients who are having cardiovascular disease will say that, doc, I just feel a little funny sensation in my chest, a little discomfort, I just feel short of breath, or I'm walking up the stairs, or I'm running after my grandkids and I find that I'm just out of breath.
The rest of the diagnostic process, however, is similar and may include an echocardiogram, ECG, blood works, or various stress tests accessible at public health facilities and at the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Generally, diabetic patients will have elevated blood sugars in their urine, which, if identified, serves as a red flag and need for more specific testing. A urinalysis or urine dipstick test is generally done as part of school medicals, oftentimes as a screening test for diabetes. As with every illness, early detection and prevention is key to having good health.
It would be good every year for every person to be checked. If you're diabetic, you would have been told how often you need to check your blood sugar by your health professional. But if you're just doing checks and you're healthy otherwise, then at least once a year to check your cholesterol, your sugar, your blood pressure, do your ECG to see if there is any abnormality in the heart.
The treatment of cardiovascular disease in diabetic patients is more holistic, involving lifestyle changes to include diet, exercise, and maintaining a healthy weight.
In a nutshell, we advocate for, eating primarily fruits and vegetables, things like whole grains and nuts, limiting one's intake of fast foods, foods with high fat content, high cholesterol, salt, and so on, and portion size management as well.
More unprocessed foods, less of the very refined high sugar foods. So there are those foods that are obviously very high in sugar. So the typical recommendation, if you look at a plate, half of the plate should be more plant-based foods, leafy vegetables, and some fruit.
In general, 150 minutes minimum per week of moderate exercise such as swimming, brisk walking, jogging, or cycling is recommended. Besides the lifestyle changes, clinical treatment through prescription drugs and surgical procedures is an important element in caring for persons with cardiovascular complications of diabetes.
We have medications to address symptoms. We have medications to prolong life. And that forms an important part of the approach. There are a variety of procedures which diabetic patients and other non-diabetic patients may qualify for, or it may be necessary to pursue. So we speak of things like stenting, for example, coronary artery bypass grafting, which is, of course, open heart surgery, major surgery. Diabetic patients we have a lower threshold for referring diabetics for that kind of procedure just because of the severity of their disease.
Medications developed primarily for use by diabetic patients have been shown to have significant cardiovascular benefits as they reduce the risk of death and complications related to cardiovascular disease in diabetic patients. But with most of them still under patent, access is quite costly. Your best treatment option is to adopt healthy lifestyle practices that make you less prone to developing diabetes or cardiovascular disease.
Children are the future, and ensuring our future is healthy requires that children are always provided with nutritious foods to grow well and live long. Unhealthy diets high in sugar, salt, and fat consumed by children may make them obese and prone to non-communicable diseases later in life. Healthy foods and beverages not only help them learn better, but also protects them from non-communicable diseases such as some cancers, diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular diseases in their childhood and adult life. So, whether it's at home, in the lunch bag, or at school, let's make healthy foods and beverages for our children the only rule.
February marks a month-long celebration of reggae music, the world's intangible cultural heritage. It's Jamaica's gift to earth, created from humble beginnings. Next, we take you to the Trenchtown Culture Yard, the place where many reggae greats and icons once called home.
Some call it the Hollywood of Jamaica, while others refer to it as the cradle of Jamaica's music. This place is packed with history, and lucky for you, we will be exploring some of it today.
This culture is a museum, you know, and it's a history of Trenchtown. It have a whole lot of legacy in it.
Yes, the Culture Yard, which is situated at Lower First Street in Trenchtown, is one of the many houses built by the Central Housing Authority between 1940 and 1949. These government houses were built on 200 acres of land and subdivided to facilitate a residential community to be called Trenchtown.
Trenchtown itself, it was named after a person, and the name of that person is Daniel Power Trench. Daniel was born in Jamaica. His mother was Jamaican, but his father was an Irishman. So Daniel's father came to the Caribbean, basically, to the business, and he met this woman. They got married and had 14 children, and there comes Daniel. Greenwich Park Estate Land, that was the name of the estate that was owned by Mr. Trench. And what had happened was, before Daniel died, you know, he was born 1813, he died 1884. He actually left that land, the estate land, to last his family at least 99 years. And what had happened was, there was a huge earthquake in 1907 that had destroyed the estate land beyond repair. So later on, the land became a squatter settlement. You had persons who started to squat on the land, and afterwards now you find where the government came in and had asked the family to sell the land to them. So it was sold to the government, and that's when the government now divided the land in different areas.
On the land, the government built 4 different blocks of houses, namely H, S, T, and U block. On the U block is the Trenchtown Culture Yard. People travel from near and far to learn about the phenomenal history of Trenchtown and the successful people and musical bands it has produced, such as the Heptones, Abyssinians, and the Wailers. Within these walls, visitors also get to observe furnishing and instruments used by the musical icons who once lived here, including the great Bob Marley and his mentor and co-writer, Vincent Tata Ford.
So Vincent Ford, this is all his writings on the wall. This is him. This is his furniture. This is his Bible.
It was in this space that the popular Bob Marley hit, No Woman No Cry, was penned. In this song, listeners are able to get a feel of some of his experiences while living here.
His first vehicle of what he owns, his first acoustic guitar, the single bed of what he sings about also is there. And there are many bits and pieces of Bob that is still here.
It's emotional. It's
After an emotional tour of the rooms and galleries, visitors get the chance to wander the courtyard, where they will find this fascinating statue of Bob. And this captivating mural of the culture tour. But the tour of the Culture Museum and Yard is just one of 3 tours available to visitors.
So normally we offer 3 different tours. The tour 1 is just inside the Culture Yard itself. You get a guided tour with one of our tour guides, and it's just a tour inside of the galleries. We offer a second tour. That tour takes you to where Bob Marley's mom lived when she came here in 1956, and Bob was only 11. So that house is basically not just Bob Marley's mother's house. That is also where Bunny Wailer lived. Because, you know, Bunny Wailer and Bob Marley, they were stepbrothers and they share the same home. We also have different craft shops in the area where somehow persons can make their own money. So the guides would walk with you there. There's also Trenchtown Ceramics, where the persons, they make ceramics out of our own Trenchtown clay. And at the end of that, it stops at the recording studio that we have in Trenchtown called the Jamming Studio. So there, persons, the guests get an experience of how the rhythms are made.
It's evident that the Culture Yard is a must-see for anyone who wants to learn more about Bob, Jamaican music, and the phenomenal evolution of Trenchtown. It's no wonder the site was declared Jamaica's first inner-city heritage site. The venue opens every day, 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Mondays to Saturdays, and 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sundays. To arrange your visit or guided tour, all you have to do is contact tour manager Sophia Doe at 876-859-6741.
Trust me, you don't want to miss out on this rich cultural experience.
We're now approaching the end of our half-hour journey inside Jamaica Magazine. Before we make the final stop, let's venture into the studio to hear an artist's account of making a purposeful switch to gospel reggae, expanding the reach of positive music and the cultural legacy.
Music has a huge impact on society.
Music could have influenced our culture in such a way where we'd use it to express how we're feeling.
Music isn't just music.
Since the late 1960s, reggae has dominated the musical landscape of Jamaica. Reggae's beginnings may be traced back to the early years of the Jamaican recording industry, that is, the late 1940s and the early 1950s. Reggae's immediate forefathers were ska and rocksteady. From the latter, reggae adopted the use of the bass as a percussion instrument. Gospel is where a lot of the music that influenced ska, rocksteady, and reggae originated. Gospel reggae is currently the subgenre with the quickest rate of growth. To date, many mainstream artists have switched to or at the very least incorporated gospel reggae in their sets. We speak of artists such as Richie Stephens, Judy Mowatt, Lieutenant Stitchie, Sanchez, Papa San, and Carlene Davis, just to name a few. But what caused the switch from secular music to gospel?
I switched from secular music to gospel music. So the beat remained the same, the sound remained the same. Because it is not the rhythm that is immoral, it's the message that's either moral or immoral. And so I was able to continue to use the rhythm of music to bring the gospel of Jesus to the people.
We're dancing in the street to a groovy reggae beat, yet everything in life is bittersweet. Sitting in a rum bar won't get you very far. You think life's a big house and a fancy car. 'Cause your heart can be lonely, though you have life and plenty. Grooving with everyone to the cemetery. You need Jesus in the plan to direct this island. It's not all about seashore and sand.
I started in 1989, actually my first gospel album. This was before my complete transition to my faith. I did a gospel album called Jesus is Only a Prayer Away, and to this day it is still a huge success. But then in 1996, when I recommitted my life to Christ, I did my first official gospel album called Vessel.
When did you fall in love with gospel reggae?
I was heading to church one evening. You know, the guys and were down to church with us holding a vibe. A close friend of mine, he was going Casey at the time. He was a very lyrical, and still is a very lyrical individual. He was freestyling. So me come down to church now, hear the vibes and thing, and it sounds secular-ish to me. So me I say, how can them sing dancehall music? You know, the church had them down a respect for the Almighty. So by listening to him and hear what exactly he's saying, I'm like, interesting.
The first song I wrote as gospel song was a song titled Sanctified. And I wrote that song, you know, and I was saying God is fighting my battles, you know, when I'm in conflict, and he will keep me from jail so I don't become a convict. I fight for my battle, yes, when me in a conflict, keep me from jail so me no go turn convict. Touch me little soul so me no go turn bandit. God at the encyclopedia, them a pamphlet. Anywhere me go, me carry the Lord with me. And I was just singing and singing about God, and it felt so good.
The first music that I did was Me No Smoke Weed, and a track called Man of God Man, because I thought it was my responsibility to proclaim to the world that a God may I deal with now. I am a God man. And I did a song named Me No Smoke Weed, feeling high, because before I got saved, I used to smoke. And I liked that feeling that I got. But when I got the encounter with Jesus Christ, I got a greater feeling.
Well, first of all, let me say that UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, designated reggae music in 2018 as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Can I say anything more?
Spiritual me no miss with the psalm them, want them, make them know God a call them. This a heaven academy and no harden. Nah friend, no devil, no demon cast them out. We a sound up here, Bentley alarm them. Young generation, the Peter, the Paul them. Intricate with the bars, them a haul them. Eradicate every snake way in the garden. Man a preach and a teach. Holy Spirit a make it fire unleash. Scriptures a beat, put the devil on a stage. A peculiar thing when the gospel a preach. Me say hear me no, no what you fear me no. This a no got them sitting no Bruce Wayne no. You coulda hide in a cave and no hear me no. When the judgment it a pass, try save you know. When the wrath of God start on there, me want see y'all a who a go run where. You miss a bad man, yeah, where the gun there. Hey Miss Dolly, me ask where the fun there. You shoulda did a God church every Sunday. I praise God and left the bar where the rum there. How where you live a coulda town or country. Listen to the word where Jesus the Son say.
God a cover we just like the ozone. Ooh, grace a glisten just like the rose gold. And the fire it a sparkle it a coast home. Got the party we are running just like the toll road. Till they say God a cover we just like the ozone. Ooh, grace a glisten just like the rose gold. And the fire it a sparkle it a coast home. Got the party we are running just like the toll road.
I got do it. The money what we make I got do it. Even the car we bitch I got do it. And the enemy could never ruin it. Big dreams, dreams big like crane. House on the hill when you see me left the lane. Big beds, spaceship, brown plane. Then without a legacy, you know that's lame. Man of God, till the day I die. Daddy billionaire, where you expect I wash in a Jesus blood. And you expect me to stay in the mud. You know see I got do it. The money where we make I got do it. The house where we live I got do it. Prosperity, promotion. You know see I got do it. I got do it.
I want to say to young artists who are in gospel music is that you have to know that this is where you belong. This is what God is saying to you. You have to know that this is my gifting to write and to sing or to play an instrument, and you have to study the Word of God. So when you write, it is words that will complement what God is saying.
There is no doubt that the gospel reggae genre has grown in popularity among Jamaica's Christian and other communities. So let us join its influence and resurrect our reggae legacy.
This is where we leave you on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to be here with us on this station tomorrow for more information you can use to transform your life. Until then, visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and other offerings. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.